Good morning, team. What's going on? Good morning, good morning. What is going on in the markets? So real quick, taking a look at news. We had something this morning at 8:15, the unemployment change. And then at 10 o'clock, so 30 minutes after the market opens, we have several things. JOLTS job openings, factory orders, services PMI, crude oil, which doesn't usually have a big impact, but several things to be aware of 30 minutes after the open. So right now, we're kind of just chopping around right under VWAP, consolidating there, looking like it might want to gain some strength and go higher. My game plan for today was if we stay above the like 680s-ish, 25, 680 to 700, somewhere in this area, then I would be looking for long continuation. And the reason for that is several confluences. We have value area low here from yesterday's session. If you zoom out to the 1 hour, there's a little bit of a fair value gap there. And then on the 5 minute, which is where I just was, that's where we had all of that accumulation. There was lots of chopping right there, and that's where the big move came up out of it. So I'm thinking if we come down to here, that would be a decent spot to hold for longs. Who knows if we'll get back down there, though. We'll see if these levels from overnight hold. I have London low here, so we'll see if that ends up being a little drop down liquidity grab and move up, or what happens. That's kind of what I'm watching for. What did ES do overnight? ES is already almost back up to previous day high and above VWAP, so that's interesting. What do you guys think in the chat? What are we gonna get? Good morning, by the way. Hope everyone's having a good day, ready to have a good Wednesday. All right, market's open. That was London high, which obviously the London session's still going, so wouldn't think that'll be much of a liquidity sweep. Woo-wee. What a move up. Let's let the choppiness settle. See where we end up. Start marking off our opening range. I don't know if anyone was watching gold earlier this morning. I had an alert go off, but I wasn't able to trade it because I was getting the kids ready for school. But there was a super clean bounce off of the previous day low on gold. I'm sure someone in the chat took that trade. It was a good one. So there is a chance that things will kind of just chop around in a range for 30 minutes since we do have news later. So I'm not in a rush to get in any trades right now unless there's like a super clear liquidity grab or a sweep of a specific level that I'm watching. By the way, guys, while we're waiting for things to kind of settle, if you haven't already, go hit that like button. Smash the like. We're coming up to yesterday's session close. It's a very faint line that I have on my chart, but this little dotted line up here, that's the previous session close. Sometimes that ends up being an area of significance. Definitely leaning towards longs just because it's holding above all of these levels that I'm watching. But at the same time, I feel like I don't want to chase it, and with news coming, I'm like, am I missing a trade or am I being patient? I don't know. All right, coming up to previous day high and Asia high. Let's see what happens up here at these levels. I hope it doesn't just go to the straight to the moon from here. That would kind of be an annoying trade or an annoying day. But I would be okay with it because I'm trying to do better at being patient, not just entering a trade on FOMO because there's momentum. There have been too many times where I lost and it came and slammed back in my face because of that. Jeff, good morning and Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, I feel like we're all kind of getting back into the groove, like with the live streams. Just trading in general. A lot of people weren't doing it the last couple weeks. Now getting back into your normal life routine. Greetings from Italy. Hello, hello. Making its way back down, bouncing off of this New York anchored VWAP so far. Come back to the midpoint of the range. Let's see if it holds here. Still only 8 minutes into the open. I like to wait till close to the 15-minute range time. And then with news coming, I'm okay with possibly missing an opportunity. I would feel better about it. I think if I got into a trade right now, I'd be like super anxious. That was a nice little bounce off of VWAP though. Did anyone take that? Not a bad one. Charles, good morning. Maverick, did we just set the chop zone for the morning? Yeah, quite possibly. I hope not. Hopefully it's just a chop until news. But really, I mean, this isn't choppy. It opened up bullish, came back down, retested the anchored VWAP, and then moved back up. It's been pretty clean so far. Good question. With the visible range volume profile, I zoom out as much as needed to be able to see all price action at those levels. So since we're getting up towards all-time highs again, and price action at these levels really only goes back a couple months, I can see everything on the hourly chart, sometimes even the 30-minute, and I like scrunch it all onto the screen as much as I can because I want to be able to look and see everything to the left at that price range. When we were lower, like down below 25K and stuff, sometimes I would have to go up to the 4-hour. But basically, it's a way of seeing the higher time frame support and resistance levels for me. So 1 hour and 4 hour generally. All right, coming on up to previous day high, getting a little bit of a pullback, but it didn't really like wick up above and have a strong sell-off with volume. So it doesn't look like a liquidity grab to me. It looks like it's going to continue higher, at least up to Asia high, and then we'll see what happens there. And to the moon, that's what's going to happen there. Woohoo! So in my game plan that I shared in Discord, I was saying that 25,900 would be the next stop. But that's not very far away. That's only 50 points from here. So after 25,900, might as well hit 26K today. But if you look left here, zooming out to like the 30-minute, you can see that there's some local tops here. 25,900, I can see where that would be the next spot where we maybe pull back. And then, yeah, 26K. Lots of resistance there and being a round whole number. All right, zooming back in, let's see what's going on. We did have that move above Asia. Let's see how these next couple of candles close. Yeah, Jeff, that's pretty much in line with what I've been doing the last couple days. 1 hour and 30 minutes. It was, I don't know, a month or two ago when we were a lot lower in price that I was having to do 1 hour and sometimes 4 hour. Maverick got a piece of that breakout. Let's go. Is my setup the orb strategy? I do use the orb. I mark off the 15-minute opening range and then also the 60-minute range, also known as the initial balance. But really, I would say my strategy is not just the 15-minute opening range. It's more like using that, which is a lower time frame context, with the higher time frame context. So like, for example, just to play out a random scenario, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but let's say the 15-minute opening range high ended up being somewhere up here. That's also a higher time frame support and resistance level that I have at 25,900. So if it came back up and retested the top of this range, I would possibly look for a short. Like if we got sellers showing up here. Just because there's higher time frame resistance, shorter time frame with the opening range. Like that's just an example of how I use it. If it's in confluence with the higher time frame, I'll use it. That was kind of a bad example though, because I also like to trade with the trend. So I probably wouldn't be shorting up there unless for some reason sellers just start to dump this thing. I'm looking more for long, so it would be more the opposite. Like if it comes back down to the opening range low and maybe tests yesterday's point of control and moves back up or something like that. All right, I'll go ahead and remove Asia high and London high since those don't really apply anymore. 15 minutes until news. So we did have that initial move up at the open, but it might be chopping for a little bit until news comes out now. Our 15-minute opening range is set at this point though. So we can see if any trades present. NQ just wants to go today. Man, you guys, if news ends up being bullish and this thing keeps going, we could hit 26K today. That's my guess. Gotta break 25,900 first, but I could see it happening. It's to the point where I don't even have very many levels overhead. I just stopped marking them. Might as well just hit all-time highs. No, watch, I say that, and then it comes crashing down in our faces. Definitely looks like it's consolidating beneath the top of the range, and this thing could just pop. It kind of feels like it wants to. As much as I want to enter along, I'm not going to. We got news coming. I'm going to be smart. Couple things lining up at this level here at 25,822. That was our previous session close and New York anchored VWAP. So one of my favorite setups, if it happens today, is a fake breakout where it breaks out of the range and then it comes back and retests the anchored VWAP before actually continuing higher. So we can watch out for that. It's also pretty close to the midpoint of the opening range too. 25,818. And previous session close and New York anchored VWAP. So that's a decent little play right there if it comes. Ten minutes till news, but NQ does not care. It's like, I'm gonna go up anyway. Which method do I use? I guess the simplest way of explaining it is support and resistance on the higher time frame using visible range volume profile, and then line it up with the lower time frame confluences, basically marking off levels. So the 15-minute opening range, the 60-minute range, and then yesterday's value areas. All right, let's see if it comes down to this area. 820-ish, somewhere in there. Yeah, I do come on most days during the week at the New York Open. I mostly trade NQ. I do watch ES, but honestly, it's mostly just for confluence. I don't trade ES very often, maybe once a week or so. And then I do trade gold quite a bit, but that's during the Asia session. And so I don't live stream that, but I do post about it in Discord. All right, now we're starting to chop a little bit, getting ready for that news. Well, there you go. NQ's the main one that I trade. I hope this does give us a pullback. I'm going to be annoyed if it just goes to the moon with the news. Fly high, my boy. No, take note, Marvel. Come down first. Come down to like 822. I'll even take it at 830. Come down there first, and then you can fly as high as you want. Go up to 26K. I'll ride it the whole way if you want me to. Don't go to the moon from here. Don't say that. There's a small part of me that wants to place a limit order down here just because, I don't know, you know how news goes. It could just like wick down and then shoot right back up and I miss my entry. But I also know that it could shoot down and just keep going down depending on news. So I don't want to be stuck in that. Choppy, choppy. What do you guys think's gonna happen with the news? You know what? Just because I've been like waiting here for it, it's probably gonna be one of those news releases that nothing happens, right? 10 o'clock rolls around and we're all like, what happened? Nothing happened. That was what we were waiting for. I guess we'll find out soon. While we're waiting, you guys, we got 87 people watching. Go hit that like button. Let's get those numbers up. Everything's kind of chopping around. Gold's not doing much. You're scared? Why do you say that? All right, there was news. And that's what I was talking about. All the excitement, all the waiting. Oh, there it is. It was just a little delay. The reaction was delayed. All right, coming down to my level. I'm not gonna like just enter right now. Let's see what happens here. See if we get a bounce here. Gonna let this news candle settle a little bit and see what happens. There's the midpoint of the range coming down towards VWAP. No signs of buyers taking it back up just yet, though. Frog face trader, just getting time on the charts is important. So if you're still feeling nervous, like you don't even have a strategy, or maybe like you still feel like you don't know what you're doing and you're anxious, paper trade. I think time on the charts is important. And especially if you're feeling nervous and anxious, don't put money behind it yet. But if it's paper trading, you don't need to be nervous. Just try out your strategy, whatever it is, and start testing it out. Still kind of waiting to see how things settle out after that data release. If it's going to bounce, this is where I'd like to see it go. I don't have a ton of experience with trading other stuff. Like I've traded crypto before, more swing trading. But I have people that I communicate with. Hold on a second. Let me see how this plays out. What I was going to say is a lot of times the strategies overlap. Like people who trade options can use a similar strategy across the board. All right, 833. Oops, 833 is where I got in long. Buyers ended up showing up and defending this area. There was lots of reasons for me to go long there. That's what I was watching for. Let's see if it plays out. I delayed the entry a little bit because I wanted to make sure the news was going to settle. So I only took 3 contracts on it. But the risk to reward is good if it does end up breaking this 900 level and we have a bullish day and it goes to 26K. So this area is our 15-minute opening range high where I have that line. And then 25,900 is that higher time frame resistance I was looking at. I'm going to at least trail my stop into profit at this point a little bit. Just because if this thing does end up turning around, it could reject at the high of day and come back down. But I'm counting on it being a bullish day, so I'm going to hold it a little bit higher. It's got to break above here for the continuation. So this red candle right here that I have my cursor on, that is the news release candle. So far it has retraced it and then it's continuing back down. It's got to hold back above 864 for this thing to continue up. Come on. I wonder if the market's still kind of just processing that data, that news. There we go. Starting to break outside the opening range. See if we can get a closure above it. And then we got to close above high of day. And then we just got to go to the moon. That's the game plan. Come on, NQ. Gold is dumping. It's coming back down to that previous day low where it bounced earlier at the session open about 8 a.m. Oh man, I don't like the choppiness. My hope is it's just consolidating for a blast off. Yeah, G-Man, give me rocket vibes. It's gonna blast off to the moon, right? G-Man, are you watching gold? I'm sure you are. Are you watching this previous day low level at 44.36? I wonder if it's gonna bounce. It's already bounced there once though, so this would be the second time. It might be a little bit weaker. Oh, that's right. I saw you post earlier that your laptop is messed up. Bummer. You can't trade at work? Yeah, I'm sure that your work computer has all kinds of restrictions or firewalls or whatever, I don't know, or even just them watching the websites that you're logging into. Probably not smart. Did your laptop like totally crash? Like you're having to get a new one? Or are you just getting it repaired? Oh, new hard drive. Gotcha. I don't love this choppiness, but I'm gonna stick with the plan. It bounced off my zone. All right. Maybe we are continuing lower. Bouncing off of New York anchored VWAP right now. See if it finds support there. It's not looking like it wants to bounce there. I'm watching. I'm watching. I'm not wanting to short this thing just because there is plenty of support below. But I also don't want to try to take another long and like try to catch the bottom. So I'll wait for a little more confirmation. Could come down to the session VWAP. See what the 5 minutes looking like. Man, look at that top on the 5 minute. That's ugly. Do I like Bookmap? Am I using it? I'm not using it. I have in the past. I've never done the paid version of it. I've only done the options where you do like the free stream on YouTube. I think it's a great tool. I don't personally use it. For one, just to be honest, I didn't want to have to pay for another subscription. But I think when I did use it, I didn't use it well. Like I would look at it and hold my target or hold my position until it hit something, an area that had large orders. And I know that's not how you're supposed to use it. I was doing it wrong, but it would kind of just mess up my psyche. Like, you know, if my levels and my price action told me that I should exit at 25,900, but there were a bunch of orders on Bookmap at 25,950. Then I would be like, oh, maybe I'll hold till 29,950, and then it would end up coming back down and hitting my break even or stop loss or something. Like that's kind of how I messed up with Bookmap. But I think it can be a great tool if used properly. All right, watching. Might have another long entry here. It's reclaiming that New York anchored VWAP, kind of getting some volume behind it. I'm going to grab a long. I just took 2 contracts just because I know myself mentally. I kind of feel like I'm chasing it a little bit. Don't have as much confluence. But I also want to get into a long. Only took 2. Volume definitely increased. Maybe it was just coming down to grab a little bit more liquidity before continuing higher. We had this little consolidation here, it held that level. Is it hard to pass an eval? I mean, in the beginning, when you're not winning trades yet, it's not easy. But in terms of the rules, they're very simple. Like Lucid, for example, you basically just trade to $3,000 in profit for a 50K account. And you can't lose $2,000. So I wouldn't say it's hard. But when you're still learning, you might fail a couple times before passing. I think that's normal. I don't know, you guys tell me in the chat, am I the only one who failed an eval the first couple times? More than a couple? I've failed more than a couple. So footprint chart, I haven't really done a whole lot of like practice or back testing with it. I've honestly only watched a couple videos on it and it seems very interesting, but not something that I would want to add because I feel like you can get that same information elsewhere with like marking off support and resistance levels or watching time and sales or bookmap. So I think if you're looking between bookmap and the footprint chart, I would say bookmap. It's a little bit easier to see. And I personally use VWAP, so of course I would be biased towards that. I think it's a very simple line on a chart. Frog Face Trader, I don't have a class. Everything, like my strategy and pretty much everything I use is in my videos on YouTube. It's all free. So it's bouncing off of that New York anchored VWAP right now. I'm not going to give this thing that much room because I don't like that we're not getting continuation. Putting my stop loss at 832 and it might come down and tap it. But like I said, I only took 2 contracts on this trade, so I'm risking like $50 because I'm not super confident in the chop. What's my process for taking profits? I just started trading futures using ORB, and I'm struggling with drawdown. Like, are you saying that your trade goes into profit, but then it ends up coming down and hitting your stop loss, so you're in drawdown because you're not taking profits? So my strategy for taking profits is I typically will scale out of positions. Because for me, like, just to give you a little insight into my psychology with trading, one of my biggest things that causes tilt is FOMO. Like, if I'll take profits early and then the thing just like blasts off, or it completely dumps and like continues way beyond my profit target, I go on tilt. And I start thinking of like, oh, I should have stayed in. I could have made this much money. And in the past, I have like re-entered that trade out of FOMO and then just blown accounts. So knowing that that's a habit of mine, what I do to take profits is, let's say I'm 5 contracts in on a trade. I'll take profit at the first area of resistance. So for me, I'm only 2 contracts in on this one, so it's not a great example. But let's say I was in 5, which would be my normal sizing. I would take off 3 at this 25,900 level, which is like the area of resistance that we have coming up. And then I would hold 2 up towards 26K-ish. So on those final 2, I would trail my stop loss, so I continue to lock in profits. But that way it's the best of both worlds, in my opinion. This is what works for me. That way I'm locking in some profit and then also allowing myself to catch a bigger part of the move, so I don't feel like I'm missing out. I know that was kind of a long-winded answer, but in short, I'll scale out at the first area of resistance or support. If I'm taking a short, scale out at the first support, and then hold a runner, a smaller portion of my position for the runner. Unless it's a choppy day, if it's one of those days where you can tell it's just ranging and there's no continuation, then I would probably just take full profit at the next area. Hopefully that helps. Gosh, with how much data we had released earlier this morning, I kind of expected NQ to actually move a little bit today. I put my stop loss at break even just because I don't trust this trade. I was considering adding to my position, but dang, we might just be stuck here for the rest of the day. All right, I got some confluence in the chat. We got another person going long on NQ. Let's go. Now we're moving. Now we're moving. Let's go. All right, so this first orange line, that was the 15-minute opening high. We have 25,900 is the next big resistance. This line here, sneaky, sneaky. I didn't even realize it was 1030. That's our initial balance high. So we had a one candle close above it. Let's see if it actually holds. Let me mark that off. I don't want to see this thing close back below initial balance high. With how weak and choppy it's been, that would not be a great sign for longs. Let's go. Let's see what the hourly is looking like. To the moon, NQ, come on. With my little baby position. All right, you guys. I'm making fun of myself. But, and this is a reminder to myself, I'm preaching to myself here, that small position sizing, you can still make good money. No need to be trading minis unless you have a giant buffer or maybe a 150K account, but even then, you can make good money with micros. Watch your sizing. All right, coming up to that 25,900 level. Yeah, old trader, I'm watching gold too. It actually did bounce off of that previous day low level that I was chatting about earlier. Coming up towards VWAP. And I had an anchored point at the high of day on gold. And that's sitting right at VWAP. So 44.67-ish might be a decent spot for us to get a little pullback. Yeah, it's Jose, it's 5 accounts. Trailing my stop up a little bit higher. Just because we do have that initial balance high right there at 25,880. I don't want to see it get back below there. Ah, Ultrader, that's one of the most frustrating things. When you enter, get stopped out, either for a loss or even just break even, and then it ends up going in your direction. That is a good moment to walk away and like log yourself out of everything for a couple minutes and reset. Whoa. Did Trump just tweet something? Glad I had my stop loss up there. What in the world? What was that, you guys? I mean, I know that 25,900 was resistance, but geez. Not like that. Checking financial juice right now. We had crude oil inventories, but that was 9 minutes ago. That was hilarious. I'm waiting for the financial juice news feed to catch up to some sort of Trump tweet. You know there was something. You know what? That was a good bounce off of VWAP. I'm entering long again. 843. 843 is where I got in. But I'm going to go ahead and place my stop loss at break even because I don't trust this anymore. If Trump's talking, if something's going on, holy cow. $843.75. Let me mark that. All right, so 25,900 was a good resistance. Came back down and grabbed some liquidity and quickly bounced back up. Now we can head to 26K, right? Sound like a solid plan? Sounds good to me. Let's do it. Let's go. Oh, Trump is commenting. That was it. It's always Trump. If there's no news and it just randomly spikes like that, it's because Trump logged into his X account. I grabbed along just 2 contracts and quickly put my stop loss at break even because I don't know what else that man's gonna say. But if we do get continuation up, I'll be riding it. Everyone that got short at 25,900 won the lottery. Yeah. I'm kind of annoyed I didn't take full profit there because I did say that was an area of resistance. but I have my stop loss tight, so it's all right. Good morning from India. Good evening to you. Still holding at that VWAP. Got to be careful though now if Trump is saying stuff. China tells tech companies to halt NVIDIA H200 chip orders. That is what it was. That was the culprit. Well, if NVIDIA is going to be dumping, we got to watch out on NQ. It's kind of just hovering here now. How many accounts do I trade? I have 10 funded accounts. 2 that I just passed today, so it will be 12. And then I have 1 more eval. You went below your max loss limit and then you were still able to trade. Was it a max loss limit that you set on yourself, like in Tradeovate or Project X? Or was it their max loss limit, like the daily loss limit that they set on the accounts? It might have been a glitch if it's the one that they set. All right, Verisat, have a good walk. How long does it typically take for me to pass an eval? It depends on the prop firm. With something like trade day, it's a 5-day eval. So I usually take all 5 days. Obviously, I don't usually take all 5. I do take all 5 because it has to be a minimum of 5. But with those ones, I'll usually hit the profit target on day 3, 3.5, and then kind of just flip the accounts on the next couple days. But with something like Lucid, I'll pass it in like 2 or 3 days. Tradeify, it was 3 days because it has to be 3 days. It was a 40% consistency, so it has to be 3 days. I trade the evals a little more aggressively, so I usually pass them pretty close to the minimum required days. I would think if it was a glitch and they let you upgrade to funded, that I don't think they would go back on that and like cancel it. That would suck. Coming back up to that 900 level. Let's see if it actually continues this time. On my evals, I don't go by number of contracts necessarily. I just risk more per trade, so it depends on what my stop loss is. But in a funded account, I'll usually risk I'm a lot more careful. I'll risk like $150 to maybe $200 per trade. With an eval, it's closer to like 300 to 400 per trade, 300 to 500 probably, at least on the first day. And then if there's a second day, I'll be a little bit more careful on that one, just so that I don't have to like start back over. So sometimes I'll get up to like 7 to 10 contracts, depending on what my stop loss is. So at this point, I don't know if we're going to get another trade. Maybe if it comes back down to this initial balance high, 15-minute opening range high pocket area, somewhere in here, and then look for continuation up towards 26K. But it kind of feels like we're in that slow grind up mode, and we're not going to get much of a pullback. That's just the way this price action is kind of starting to feel. I could be wrong though. But yeah, I'd be looking for possibly VWAP at 824 if it comes that low, or somewhere in this area. something like that. But really, I would want to put my stop loss below that wick. So don't love that. You could put it below there. I don't know. I don't see any great opportunities at this point. You can also look at the session volume profile because the point of control is probably somewhere up here. Yep. That's actually a good level now that I see that. So this gray shaded box is a support zone that I have marked off from the higher time frame. So the bottom edge of this support zone is right around previous point of control, which is also right around that session anchored VWAP. So if it comes down to 858-ish, and then I would put my stop loss below that wick. That's a much better risk to reward. Have I thought about creating a group to copy trade and pass their evals faster? I have not, honestly, because a lot of times my trading is not necessarily like during the New York session at my computer. Sometimes I'm out and about and I wouldn't want to have to like make an announcement to everyone. I feel like that would be hard too because you kind of need to be live. Like I would need to be streaming all of my trades. Even if I put something in a Discord group or something, you guys wouldn't see the message fast enough to be able to enter a trade. I have heard of people doing that though. I know it's not legal or very much frowned upon, but I know of a couple other groups that do that and I don't love it. Where the guru will like charge people a fee to pass their evals for them. Seems a little bit shady to me. You hate wasting your time. That's a terrible mindset to have. Honestly, if you have that mindset of like, you think an eval is a waste of time, then you're probably going to trade way too aggressively and then end up having to like redo your eval again. So one thing, I'm a data person. I've said this to you guys many times before. Like, what I try to turn off the numbers side of my brain because I'm always calculating, like, how much money do I need to make to pass this eval or to hit my consistency score, and what's my profit target for today? And I feel like all of that stuff messes me up. But if you are a data person, one thing you could do is look at the stats or the data or whatever, the numbers behind, like if you trade your evals too aggressively and then you have to start over and do it again, you're actually wasting more time. Like it's probably going to take you longer to get to a payout if you keep doing that. But if you actually slow down and maybe take a week to pass your eval or 2 weeks or whatever, and then slowly grind your way to a payout, but you never have to reset and start over, my guess is you'll probably reach a payout faster than if you trade super aggressively and you're resetting all the time and all that. Plus the financial side of it. Because yeah, maybe you took a payout, but you have to subtract all the reset fees that you paid. And I know I need to preach to myself on that too, because I just told you guys, full transparency, I trade my evals a little bit more aggressively, and I'm not proud of it. But I do think it's important to not feel like you're wasting time on an eval. Plus, it's also the price to pay, price to play, I guess. Like, you have a prop firm that is basically giving you money to trade. I know it's sim funds, you can argue that, but you also can take real money as a payout. So you got to prove yourself first. And it's not that long. It only takes a couple days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Small price to pay to be able to take a payout with not much of an investment. Like Lucid, you can pay $78 for a 50K account and get a $2,000 payout. That's a pretty awesome rate of return in my opinion. So it's a small price to pay to pass an eval. Well, you guys, I think I'm going to call it. It's really just chopping around up here and literally going nowhere. Like, look at this volume at the bottom of the chart. Holy cow. And as I say that, it goes to the moon. NQ heard me. She's like, what? What are you saying about me? Watch me. Watch me now. In your face. That's what she says. In your face. Oh, good times, good times. Yeah, you're right. Living Awesome, you can get straight to funded accounts too. When I first started and like I got my first payout and I was excited, like, oh, I'm a profitable trader, I can do this. I started with straight to funded or direct funded, however they call it, depending on the firm. I do like them because obviously it's a little bit of a faster route to payout, but a couple things, they're more expensive. So if you have a habit of blowing accounts, it's definitely something to be careful of. Also, the main reason is their consistency scores are lower. So like you have to usually hit like a 20% consistency or 25 or 30 depending on the firm. Whereas if you go the eval to funded route, your consistency is usually a lot higher. And I like that. So having it be cheaper overall, going the eval to funded route and having a higher consistency, I thought it was worth it to maybe have a couple days of an eval without a payout. That's just me though. You haven't traded with prop firms yet. Do you pay commissions out of your broker's account as you're trying to pass your eval? So there are commissions, but it's sim funded commissions. You don't have to actually pay the money. You just pay the one-time fee for the eval, and then you trade to hit a profit target. Like for example, the Lucid account, it's like $78, $80, depending on their sale. For a 50K account, you pass the eval with $3,000 total in profits. but you don't have to pay any other fees. They do take commissions out. Like, let's say you made $100 on this trade, you might actually only have like $95 in your account, for example. So they take out little commissions, but it's all just sim funded money. You're not actually having to pay those dollars, if that makes sense. Well, it went back to that fizzled out volume going nowhere. There was that 1 minute candle where it pumped up and then kind of just died off again. What's the difference from going from demo to live? So all prop firm accounts are still sim money. You just go from eval to funded, but it's sim funded. Like, you're just playing with monopoly money, I guess you could say. But they do give you real payouts, but the payouts come from like traders' eval fees. You're not actually trading real money live in the market until you go to a live account, which is usually after like 5 or 6 payouts. You have to prove yourself for a while to be a profitable trader before they actually give you real money to trade. I mean, think about the risk of it. Like, are they really going to give you real money to trade after you passed one $3,000 eval? No way. They would lose so much money. Because you know anyone can get lucky and pass an eval once. But someone taking 5 or 6 payouts from the same account that they've kept for the last 5 months, that's a whole different story. Like, that's someone who's shown that they're consistent. At that point, they'll give you real money that you trade in the market. So that's a live account. So the eval and the funded accounts are still sim funds, not real money. Well, if you guys haven't already, go hit that like button. I would appreciate it. But I think I'm going to call it on trading for the day. There's a whole lot of nothing happening right now. By the way, since we were talking about prop firms, if you guys do want to enroll in a prop firm, make sure to use code Krista. I would appreciate it. And then I will see you guys tomorrow. If you guys keep trading, trade safe. Have a good one.